Hello there. I'm Squire Callahan Ridgeborn, almost a Battlemaster, always a wizard, and tonight I'm super excited to be joined by Rook Withakay. Rook is a Paragon Wizard out of the Kingdom of Neverwinter. Welcome to the show.
Tomorrow, my friend. I am also always a wizard and also almost a battle master. Yeah, I'm really excited to have this conversation. I mean, we were kind of talking about it, beforehand. This is the class that not just in Amtgard, but even when playing D&D and games like Tyranny, it's just something that I've always sort of been drawn to. I'm a huge gamer, so that's what got me into Amtgard. It's a game more than anything else. I just love figuring out cool mechanics in games and figuring out how things click together. That for me was the biggest draw towards Wizard. Yeah, I guess where would you like to start?
Well, Rook, let's start at the beginning. How did you start playing Amtgard?
So my first time playing Amtgard, I was at a friend's birthday party, and his Amtgard friend came, and they brought a couple foam swords, tried a couple fights. He said, "Yeah, so this is Amtgard. This is what we do. Would you like to come out and try, you know, playing Amtgard with us this Sunday?" And I'm paraphrasing, but my response was, there is absolutely no way I'm ever going to get into that nerdy, goofy game. You couldn't pay me. I'm not going to do it, but I'm not going to get into the game. It's not something that interests me. I'm not going to do it. So I think I'm almost 4 years into the game now, and it has been the best experience of my life. I'm so thankful to have found this space, to have found this wonderful community of friends, and people that I get along with, and people who are just as nerdy, if not competitively nerdy, as I am. I think about a month after that, I came out, and I didn't know what the rules were for armor, and I figured, well, it's a LARP, so I'm gonna wear a gray sweater in Miami, and a gray sweater looks like chainmail, so that means I'm probably gonna get armor for that. I didn't. I overheated, and it was a very rough first day for me.
Oh no.
Yeah, I had a lot of good fighters in my park, and you know, I had Porkchop in my park. He's now my knight. At that time, all I know is there's a guy who is flying through the field, throwing spins at people, and getting these insane kills. And I'm like, okay, I tried playing Barbarian for my first 5 days coming out to Park, and just getting totally annihilated by all these fighters who are better than me. I'm like, this is just not gonna work for me in the long run. So I picked up Wizard, and I figure, well, Wizard has answers to a lot of these problems, and I feel like I'm gonna have an easier time just playing a class that wins in games rather than actually getting good at fighting. I get invited to fighter practice, and that's when I figure, like, oh, well, now I can at least learn how to fight single sword, so I can just defend myself longer as a wizard. And ironically, that's how I ended up getting into fighting. Yeah, that's my start in Amtgard, is just getting my butt kicked by people who are better than me, and it kind of like took me down the path that I'm on now, which is being an aspiring stick jock, and also being a pretty good battle gamer.
I am finding this increasingly hysterical. So before we started our official recording, Rook and I
Hmm.
discovered that we both in Mundania work in IT.
Yeah.
Rook, my starter class was also Barbarian, and I figured out that I was terrible at Stick and switched to Wizard. This is
This is
the
great.
the
I,
parallels
I
here are so strong.
it's great. Oh my god.
That is hysterically funny. I don't even know what to do with this now.
Did you start as a verbal wizard, or did you actually get into like the magic balls?
So at the park I was playing at the time, you played your level. So I started as a level 1 wizard that I had shove, force bolts, and a short sword, and went to work.
Hmm.
That whole journey was like my beginning park when I was starting out playing wizard. We were a full-blown duchy. We had usually 30-person battle games, so 15v15 ish. And in those battle games, we had a couple of people that aspired to be like sword knights because we didn't have battle knights at the time. We had some
Mhm.
really high skill players. I think there were like 4 or 5 Paragons. So it was really a trial by fire at finding how to be effective on a field when literally everyone has more magic than you. I'm very proud to say I became effective very quickly. By level 3, I was no longer the last round draft pick. I was somewhere in the middle of the pack. So yes and no. I wasn't exclusively playing verbals. I just did the generalist builds around things like lightning bolt and drag below and things like that up until
Okay.
I hit 6th level, and then tried out a couple other things. And I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit later, but I tried elemental barrage. Was not a fan of elemental barrage as much as I thought I was going to be. Got into doing some battle mage stuff, had a lot more fun with that. Still play generalist, still play battle mage. I almost never play elemental barrage wizard now.
Yeah, I mean, when I had first started, I think like what turned me off was I had read like what the heal incant was. And I was just like, I don't want to learn a poem to play this game. Like, I'm just gonna do the magic balls, and that's kind of the direction I stuck with. You know, all the magic balls follow a very simple formula. The X of Y is mine to evoke, and I can't possibly mess that up. So I stuck with it, and it takes like the least amount of memorization. I can't tell you how many times like I'll play a verbal wizard, and even if I know the incantation, I I'll still like choke because when you're on the field, it's not as simple as just press right bumper and you cast a spell. It's like no, you actually gotta like pause, recite your incant, and then all right, now my effect takes place. And there's also something to be said about like having an actual physical element to what you're doing. Like I can see my ball hit you. You can't tell me you're outside 20 feet. Like I just watched that land. So yeah, I mean, I really liked Spellball was my first couple times. I want to say the first month or two. I played with as many force bolts as I could carry, and I was trying to read online. And I'm sorry I can't cite all my sources. This was just, you know, my first like 6 months of playing. I'm, reading online of like how other wizard players are doing it, and I found someone who had something called a death bouquet. And the way they would do it is between their pinky and their ring finger, they would have two magic balls in opposing directions. So you'd have two between two fingers. And then between their ring finger and their middle finger, they'd have two more magic balls. And then between their middle finger and their forefinger, they'd have another two. So right now, between four fingers, you're holding two, four, six magic balls. We haven't even used the thumb yet. And then by the time you start using the thumb, you just have the rest of the bouquet of magic balls in there. So you're just rapid firing. Anytime I need to grab something between my pinky, I have my lightning balls. Between my middle finger and ring finger, I've got ice balls. And then after that, I got entangles. And then in my, being held by my thumb, I've got all my force bolts. And I only had one bag, and it kind of sucked having one container, a disorganized mess that just I have to pull out something, identify what it is, and then cast it. And if I have a barbarian who's charging me, which if you're playing wizard, someone's always charging you,
Yep.
you have to be ready to cast. And like with a verbal, it's easy to just say shove because my power shove's the easy. But if you don't know what if you don't know what spell you're about to pull out, you grab into your bag and I got pyrotechnics I gotta cast. How often are you casting it? Well, now you got to remember the incant. I just didn't like it. I'm very much you play games like League or whatever. Like when I press Q, I need my Q ability to come out exactly the way it did. So,
Mm-hmm. So how'd you solve this problem?
so I joined a group on Facebook. It was a Amtgard Wizard group, and someone posted they called it like a magical golem build that they had. This guy got a vest, and he put like four PVC pipes on his chest, and when he made the magic balls, he put, obviously the ball for the magic ball, and he put a sock around it so that there's a second smaller ball in the back. He slots the small balls through the PVC pipe so that now it's hanging off of his chest. I could not get that to work. That felt too complicated, and I was really worried about if I fall, which I'm prone to do, I would land on PVC, I would break that or hurt myself or both. I didn't want to do it. So I just went on Amazon. I got a Molly vest for paintball, which just has a bunch of loops on your chest.
There you go.
I get two big bags at around my belt and two smaller bags on, I guess, my pecs. And now on my bottom right bag, I've got like all 12 of my force bolts. On my left bag, I've got either ice balls or entangles, whatever I'm taking for that game. And then on my top, I got fireball, lightning bolt, and that's it. I know where everything is. I'm not gonna accidentally cast something that I'm not intending to. And I know, like, the moment someone's going to be charging me, I have the answer to that problem as soon as I need it. As an elemental barrage wizard, my best friend is Swift. So I would always have Swift, the Flame of Storm's Mind to Evoke. You're stopped. You're not doing anything to me. My problems are solved very quickly. You do it a lot in games where, like, if you're doing the same sort of, speedrunners do this, right? If you're doing the same track over and over again, you got to find out how to, like, make those problems easier and easier so you could do it quicker and quicker. And, having your death bouquet, having your bag of everything you need when you need it available to you, like, having all those, like, minute problems solved before you get into the battle game, it will just seriously make your day a lot easier. I don't remember the original question. I think I just kind of went on a tangent there, but I just
Wow.
love throwing balls at people. uh,
Oh, I get it. It's super duper fun. There's nothing more exhilarating, or like, there's a special thrill when you get that sphere of annihilation and you just gently lob it right into the 6 point ancestral armor, and you're just like, oh man, that's a bummer. Don't forget your curse. You got him. Lightning bolt is probably still my favorite spell ball, just because it's so good. And yeah, you gotta have the death bouquet worked out. My hands are huge, so I can fit 3 per slot, and that
uh-huh.
I have a lot of carry capacity for spell balls.
I have a controversial opinion that you mentioned Sphere of Annihilation. I don't take Sphere of Annihilation. It's not bad, but it's overpriced. When you're talking about the price of each of the magic balls, you take one force bolt, you get 3 balls. You take one entangle, you get 2 balls. And then once you get to fireball and lightning ball, then it's like you take 1 for 1. Once you get to 6th level, you have your 6 points. I believe it was 2 points for battle mage, 1 point for elemental barrage, which you usually want to take 2. So you got your 4 points spent. Now you're down to your last 2 points. You just take those last 2 points. You get 1 sphere of annihilation. We understand it's a counter to 6-point warriors. And in the event where you have a 6-point warrior on the field, you need to have that sphere of annihilation because that's your answer to that problem. For everyone else, you already have fireball. Like, fireball, I just find to be a better answer to killing people if that's what I want, right? If you played D&D and you played Wizard as a D&D, you might have heard of Treant Monk's Guide to Wizards for 5e. It's for me, it was a wonderful guide that when I used to play D&D, that's kind of what guided me on how to play Wizard in most games. And it kind of goes off of the idea that you're not killing things. Killing is like the last thing that a monk needs to do. I'm sorry, a wizard needs to do. My goal on the field is not to get kills, because if I'm getting kills, I could just take a stick and I'd probably be more effective doing that. My goal is to control the battlefield and make it easier for the people who are getting kills to do their job. There is, like, I always assume worst case scenario, right? If there's like a sword knight on the enemy team and this guy, we know he's just gonna run out there, blow everyone up. This guy's playing barbarian. which in my case, you know, Porkchop was always playing Barbarian, so I'd always have to think of ways to counter him specifically. Fireball would just activate his Fight After Death. And I know right now Fight After Death isn't really relevant anymore, but when I was playing Evoker, it was. The only real answer you have to someone like that is Lightning Bolt. You stop them, you can't cast your Fight After Death, you're stopped, you're not going to be chasing me. I could limb you, I could break your weapon, or, and I do this every time, I just aim for your shield. It's the biggest target. The only time that it's not relevant, which I would say is in the more recent patches of the game, is everyone has Imbue Shield. We have all these paladins running out there. You know, now that all you have to do is get to level 6 in a class, you get your paladin, you pick, I'm forgetting the archetype. I think it was not Inquisitor.
Oh, it's the other one that's not Inquisitor. They haven't been out long enough for them to walk into my brain yet.
Yeah, the point is, yeah, you pick that archetype, which all of our paladins do now. You get your imbue shield, and then that's okay. It's a lot easier to play against magic balls. So, you know, I would say that's like the one time where you're not aiming for someone's shield is if you see they've got a paladin sash. There's not really much you could do anyways. You know, if you're playing Evoker, if you're playing a Magic Ball Wizard, or like they take Pro Mag, you do nothing. Don't bother aiming for them. End of story. And then again, if they take Imbue Shield, same thing. I can't do anything to your shield. You know, I'm not going to be able to answer that problem. And that's really how I try to view the field. Is every single person on this field presents a problem. It's either going to be a problem for me or it's going to be a problem for someone else. If I see a monk, that's a problem for me. I have a phase bolt. That's my answer to that problem. If I'm going verbal, I have a heat weapon. That's my answer to that problem. So, you know, you just want to keep your checklist in your head. Like, how can I answer these problems when it's urgent? And you know, having your phase bolt on you, having your lightning bolts ready, and again, if they have a 6-point warrior, then having that sphere of annihilation is that problem to that question. I feel like I've been hogging up the bandwidth. What other topics on Wizard would you like to cover next?
So, I mean, we've already covered a good range of things talking about, being an evoker, doing elemental barrage. Would you like to share your full elemental barrage list? Is it all? Are you taking all 4 phase bolts for that?
I don't. I actually limit myself to 1 to 2 phase bolts. I will take as many lightning balls as I can, which is really just a question of how many I have that day. I mean, you know, obviously, like as wizard, you can take 4.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have 4 that day, I mean, I'll stick to 2 or 3.
Are you rotating your spell balls? Like, I mean,
It's
do you not
it's
have
I
the full
yeah I
kit, or are you? Do you have a sub number of balls, and then that's what you're working with?
yeah. So before I guess the changes to Wizard when you could I'm looking at it right now and it looks like Ice Ball now is like 1 ball per purchase. But I'm remembering before it was 2 balls per purchase and I would always have 6 ice balls. The only time I would alternate to take entangles over ice balls is if we had an archer on the team who could at least hit the people that I'm entangling, or I had another wizard on my team who would take drag below, and we had, you know, alternative solutions to those problems. I try to like work with the team, but honestly, Ice Ball is so strong that it's a 60 seconds you take someone off the field. Totally went off on a tangent. Let me run it back a bit. For the most part, I always take 12 force bolts. I would always take at least 2 to 4 entangle. I take the maximum amount of ice balls, which at the time was 6, for 3 to 4 lightning balls, 1 to 2 fireballs. We had a lot of barbarians on my field, so that was my reasoning for not taking a lot of fireballs. But if I'm going to a kingdom event, just cap out on all the things you can take. If you can take more fireballs, you should take more fireballs. And then phase bolts, I would always limit it to 1 to 2 because we don't typically have a lot of monks locally. If I take the 1 phase bolt, that's my answer to the monk.
Right.
But if I'm at a kingdom event, I need minimum 2 to 3. And then again, just, you know, why take a sphere of annihilation when I could just take more of other magic balls? You're talking about 2 of your 6th level spell slots for 1 ball. Is it effective? Yes, but most of the 6-point warriors that I've seen will typically have a shield.
Right.
And I see the shield as a very squishy target from where I'm standing as a wizard because I have, oh my god, why am I blanking out on the word? Engulfing. I have engulfing. I can target your shield with a lightning ball. I can target it with an ice ball or entangle. Like you, my only real threat at that point would be, 6-point warrior who's going flow, which I don't really see that. I think I've only seen that once at a Gathering of Kingdoms, and that was because we were playing militia,
Okay.
which I couldn't even pick wizard.
So let's
Um,
roll all the way down through the spell list and let's establish what we're working with on your. So if you've got 2 elemental barrages, a evoker, obviously, you're skipping
mhm.
sphere. What are you buying at level 5? You've got, you said 2 phase
I take
bolts.
I'll take at least one steel life. I usually take two, but I'll take at least one steel life because that gives me the opportunity to recharge my elemental barrage without sitting at base like a chump having to charge 10. I would very much rather just, empty my full if playing an evoker or an elemental barrage wizard is a support with a very heavy machine gun, as soon as I have to reload, I'm gonna steal life. I'm gonna get my barrage back, and I'm gonna try to pick up my balls as quick as possible. Oh, sorry. After that, so we've got our 4 points at 6th level being used for Battle Mage Elemental Barrage. We use the 2 points below that for steal life. We'll take 2 phase bolt. I always take Swift. Swift in any of my builds. Doesn't matter if I'm going Evoker. Doesn't matter if I'm going Battle Mage. Doesn't matter if I'm going Warlord or Warlock. Swift is probably the most slept on and the most valuable wizard spell on the list. Full stop. You can make an argument for extension being valuable. Extension is a very easy one to pick, but Swift, I feel, it can be your get out of jail free card if you take it with teleport. Obviously, no, yeah, you can take it with evoker. Yeah, you can take it with teleport. You can take it with, anytime you drop your elemental barrage. Let's say I finish getting my kill. As soon as I have to, I'm going to steal life, get my elemental barrage back. If I don't have enough time to pick up all my magic balls, I have one swift magic ball on me, and that's going to be my answer to whatever problem is closest to me. If I've got one force bolt, swift force bolt, that's quick answer to a problem. And then going down the rest of the list, I feel like I mean, elemental barrage wizard is just, you're just going to take all your magic balls. I don't feel like it's overly complex. You need your teleport, you need your release, you need your men. Even if it's only 1 to 2, or even just one, since they're all per life, getting a lot of these is really a priority. And you're not going to. I don't think you need to experience anything. I would say for evoker wizard, I don't see the need to experience anything. I mean, you could experience mend, you could experience release, but it's all per life. I haven't. If I have to cast anything while I am in my elemental barrage, it drops the effect, and I want to avoid that as best as possible. It's good to have the ability to fix someone else's shield. It's good to have the ability to get someone out of a state that might lose you a point or might lose you a fight, but you really want to limit the amount that you're actually casting, even if it's just touch range spells.
Are you buying a short sword with that usually?
I I've tried to take a short sword or a dagger in the past, and I find it's more of a hindrance to try to balance everything you have. I find it a lot easier to not worry about taking a weapon, and you just stick to, you've got one hand that's just holding all the magic balls that you need, and you got your good hand that you're going to be throwing with. Obviously, I'm right-handed, so I've got all my magic balls in my left hand, and the
Right.
one that I'm actively going to be using in my right hand. Opposite would be true if you're left-handed. It's not worth burdening your mind thinking that you have another tool to worry about. I'm
The
a very
opportunity.
I'm very much a kiss method type of person.
That's
Keep it simple, stupid. you don't want to add any unnecessary burdens to your build if it's just going to overwhelm you.
Are you buying Suppression Bolt?
I've thought about it, but I just don't really find a lot of value on it unless there's like a healer on the enemy team. And if there's two healers on the enemy team, then they can just release the other. And then now I just kind of wasted this temporary suppression for not a lot of gain when I could just hit them with something else that's going to have more value. If I hit them with an ice ball, I'm setting a trap rather than letting that person run back to their healer. Now their healer has to come to where I just ice balled someone, and now you need to take yourself out of position for me to hit you. This is setting up another opportunity for me rather than just taking one person out of the fight for long enough for them to just walk to someone else who has relief.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of Suppression Bolt, but I will say that the recent addition of adding it to Monk, I think is really nice. I think it's good that there's another class that's taking it. I don't think it's a bad Magic Ball. I just don't think it works very well for the type of wizard I try to play.
Fair enough. Now, are you still playing Evoker today?
I have donated my Magic Ball vest to another wizard player at my park. I have ADHD, and so I have a really hard time keeping track of the things I own as is. And I kind of got tired of keeping track of all my Magic Balls. I still really like playing it. I'm still like, in a battle game tourney, I won't play Evoker, but I will still take Magic Balls because Ice Ball is just incredibly powerful, and entangle if you're running warlock is also, it's just your bread and butter. It's too good not to take. But yeah, I don't really play Magic Ball Wizard as much, and kind of like I was mentioning earlier, I'm trying to focus more on martial classes right now. So I hit Paragon Paladin. Now I'm kind of in the middle trying to figure out what my next class is going to be. And yeah, I when I play wizard now, I usually stick to like a verbal wizard, whether it's going battle mage, so I get the ambulance, or sometimes I don't even take the battle mage. I on smaller teams, I think having void touch on one of your allies, if it's prepared, and this is
Mhm.
something that you and I talked about in Sid's class on enchantments. Void touch can have a very big impact based on who you put it on. Putting a persistent void touch on like a barbarian, giving them immunity to almost everything, and giving them access to steal life over adrenaline. You know, I think the enchantments on Wizard are slept on. It's a missed opportunity that a lot of Wizards don't take because they value taking Ambulance too much.
I agree with you. Battle Mage is really good, but I do think that some of the wizard enchantments are being slept on there.
Yeah.
Which of the spell balls do you like the best?
I'd say Lightning Ball is my favorite, and Ice Ball I would probably consider to be like the meta pick. If you're not taking Ice Ball, you're missing out on the full potential of what Elemental Barrage can do. You take a single person Ice Ball, it's the best. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, we can break down the fact that again, you're setting someone to be vulnerable on the enemy team, or you're turning a 5v5 into a 4v5 by just taking them out for 60 seconds. But Lightning Bolt is a really hard counter to a lot of classes. I don't know. I find the ability to take out barbarians is just too important, and that's why I like Lightning Bolt the best.
I've got a tangent side question for that. Are in
Okay.
down there in Neverwinter, are you guys seeing a like significant amount of barbarian play? Up here in the Rising Winds,
Mm,
it seems like everyone who was playing barbarian shifted over into paladin or anti-paladin, and
yeah,
I regularly will see
yeah,
games where
that's
there are zero
definitely.
barbarians. How much are they out prevalent out there?
I think we're having the same sort of movement down here as well. Yeah, everyone's sort of moved over to paladin. I mean, even me. Like I've been playing a lot of paladin lately. I find that taking an imbue shield is really good. With barbarians change from fight after death, which let's be clear, I don't like the change. I feel like it's really taken the what makes barbarian unique away
Mm.
from it, and you just congratulations, you've got a class that can now turn into a monk for 7 seconds with shield crushing. It's just another class that's immune to magic. I'm not a fan of it, but yeah, no, I've definitely seen the same thing. A lot of paladin players nowadays, not a lot of inquisitors. I would say almost all the
Guardian.
paladin players. Yeah, guardian,
That's what
that's
it
the
is.
ticket.
Guardian. I remembered.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just guardian. And even as paladin and wizard player, I just command is the absolute weakest school of magic. Kind of touching a bit more on verbal for wizard. One of the biggest strengths like that verbal wizard has is you have access to every school of magic. You could take
Absolutely.
flame, you could take death, you could take sorcery. Like again, you have an answer to every problem that presents itself. Oh, there's a anti-paladin. Okay, great. I'll wound him or I'll finger of death him. Oh, you've got a paladin on the enemy field. I can either dispel him if he has promag, or I can just heat his weapon. And the same thing for a raging. Well, no, I think raid. Sorry, it's still relatively new to me. Yeah, no, you can still heat their weapon. I just don't like rage as a mechanic. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, rage is it's fine, but let's circle back around to what is the spell ball that you think is the least good?
I mean, I would say suppression for the reason I mentioned earlier. I would say suppression bolt is probably like the weakest out of the options. I think its use case is very limited, and the fix to it is, a release. Just get someone else on your team to release you. I mean, me as a wizard, I always take release. I have to assume that any other caster on the enemy team is also going to take release, whether that a druid, healer, wizard. It's too plentiful to not have a release on your team. And if your team doesn't have a release, you've got a completely other set of problems that we're not even going to get into. I mean, it's yeah. So suppression, I would
I
say, is
agree
the
with you.
weakest.
Okay. How do you build your spell balls? What's your tech?
So I tried a lot of different tech when I was first getting started. When I first played, a lot of the people at my park would use like foam gamma balls, and I feel they didn't go very far. I started experimenting with cuts of denim. So I would cut a 1 by 1 square of denim. I would wet the denim so that it would compact easier, and then I would cover it in cloth and then just let it dry overnight, and then it would just expand a little bit more. So it's like legal. I use that. Those hit way too hard. They throw pretty far, but they are not fun to get hit with, and they're not great. So the alternative solution, which I found is the easiest and of what I've tested, probably the best, is just use laundry balls. Laundry balls go the distance that you want. I would hit, I think, like 30, yeah, like a 30-foot range with wool ball. Because of the PVC pipe engineering that I was talking about, what I would do is I would put one sock over the ball, and
Hmm.
then in the heel of that sock, I would put a smaller soft ball. So once you tie the cloth on top, so you got the cloth on top of the laundry ball. In the heel of the ball, you've got a smaller ball, which is just used for leverage. And then you put the cloth color on top. Once you tie that together, you can use the ball that's in the heel to get a little more leverage. So it makes it feel like you're almost throwing a dagger or throwing an axe in a direction,
Ah.
which I found gets more range, but I had a much harder time with the accuracy on it. So when you're line fighting or when teams are bunched up and there's usually someone standing behind someone else, throwing it from the heel made it easier to get distance. But if people are bunched up, I don't really care who I hit. I just need to hit something. and yeah, that's how I would make my magic ball. But yeah, laundry ball core is 100% the way to go. It does not hit so hard that it is rude to use, and it hits hard enough where you're not gonna get sloughed about it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's how I worked with it. And that's again, that's something borrowed. I can't remember the fellow's name, but again, it was someone from the Amtgard Wizard, yeah, Order of Wizardry on Facebook. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago where I found that post when he made that, and if I can find that, I'll mention it. I think I found it. His
Have
name is
you ever been
Kieran Melro on Facebook. That's his name, Kieran Melro.
have you as an elemental barrage wizard ever been greater released out of elemental barrage?
No, full stop. Never. I've when I bring up that I play Elemental Barrage to other people, I get threatened about, "Oh, you better watch out. I'm going to greater release you." Has never happened in my 4 years of playing Amtgard.
They're all
Yeah.
bluster.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I heard the same thing about greater releases hitting barbarians. I mean, I always hear about back when Fight After Death was a thing. Oh, but you can just greater release a raging barbarian if they're fighting after death. Okay, do it. Why aren't you just doing it? Why are you telling me about it?
Yeah, well, they never did. All they ever did was run away. And it's like,
Right.
okay, yeah, it's 7 seconds. It's easier to run away than to try to stand your ground and cast. I mean, it's a short incant, but it doesn't feel like I ever see people hit. Well, Fight After Death is gone now, so I can't see it anymore. But still,
Right.
okay.
Hopefully that comes back.
If we're playing Elemental Barrage, what is
Mhm.
the best way for someone to support you in Elemental as an Elemental Barrage wizard?
I'm going to take that question and I'm going to flip it. You should not be supporting me. I should be supporting you. I'm not the killer on the field. I'm the person who's helping everyone else kill. So, if I someone who's going sword and board, that's usually my rock. That's my anchor. That's someone that I want to see succeed.
Hmm.
And so, I'm gonna stick around them if they're ever in a situation where they're being outnumbered. I want to take that advantage away from the enemy. I'm gonna hit one of the two with an ice ball, or I'm gonna break a shield so that, all right, great, my pole guy needs to start doing damage to the enemy team. I'm gonna fireball a shield. That shield's out of the way for us. Now this line is gonna be a lot easier to push. So my goal as a wizard, and again, this is not specific to Elemental Barrage. This is, if you play Verbal Wizard, if you play anything else, is you need to make sure that everyone else is set up for success.
All right. Is there any enchantment that you're looking for as an Elemental Barrage wizard?
So I think the easy answer to this is Gift of Air, but for non-elemental barrage wizard, if you're going battle mage, something people don't talk about enough is lycanthropy. You're immune to command. You get your 2 points of magic armor. You can't be suppressed. I think this was something that we mentioned in our enchantment talk. Yeah, immunity to command. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, but I also don't see it being cast a lot on wizards.
How does the Evoker build? I know we keep saying Evoker and Elemental Barrage Wizard. They're
Mhm.
basically
It's
interchangeable.
interchangeable.
They're
Yeah,
they're the same thing. Like
definitely.
don't fact check us in the comments. We know what we're talking
Yeah.
about. They're the
Right.
same thing basically.
Mhm.
When you're playing Evoker, how is that different at your local park versus the King?
I would say just taking more force bolts. I don't take as many force bolts when I am at local park because there's generally less people there. But when you're at a kingdom event and I see they bumped up force bolts to 8 pickups. I mean, I remember it was, I think you could take it,
It was
you could
max
purchase
4
it
previously. Now it's max 8.
4.
You need 24
Right.
force bolts.
Insane. I'm so here for it though. My favorite thing to do was just before a fight begins, just chuck a force bolt in there. I don't know if it's gonna hit. Maybe it doesn't hit, but maybe it gets a leg. Maybe it gets an arm. It's such a cheap ball to throw that there's no reason not to just get rid of it. So if I'm at a safe range, I'm trying to just I treat my force bolt like a jab. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to feel what the range is like. I'm trying to feel how are you going to respond to this, right? This is me just gathering data right now. The moment that first game starts and we're trying to feel each other's range and how the other is going to react, that first force bolt is me just, it's trying to find the okay way to, a poop test. Trying not to cuss, but it's a poop test. Just to see, how what are you gonna do when I offer this to you? And
Okay.
yeah,
I'd like to take a moment and talk about the other two archetypes because Wizard has two other archetypes. I want to get your feelings about Warlock first. What do you think about Warlock?
I would say there's a reason we don't see a lot of warlocks, and I don't know what battle gaming is like in Rising Winds, but in Neverwinter, respawn's pretty quick. We've got like ranging between 15 seconds, 30 seconds. At our local park, we'll have a lot of timer or death timer starts when you die. So if it's a 15-second timer, you start counting 1, 2, 3, 4 before you even get to the base. By the time you get back, it's effectively the same as touch and go. And if I'm killing everyone on the enemy team, they're going to get back into the fight a lot sooner than if I just hit you with an ice ball or hit you with a freeze or if I leg you. And I feel like that's the biggest weakness that Warlock has is, it's trying to kill. If you're playing a shatter battle or you're playing a low life count game, then the value of Warlock goes up. The longer that respawn timer is, the more valuable it is to use a Warlock. We had a battle game tournament recently where I actually just doubled down on Warlock. We had like a 30-second timer. Every 30 seconds, there's a ding. And then after 2 dings, you respawn. So it's around 60 seconds. And if you don't make it back to your base by that first ding, it could be even longer than 60.
Could be as
So
short as 32. Could be
exactly, yes.
78 or
So
7.
with that in mind, killing is super valuable. So, I don't normally take Finger of Death just because, and I know that's probably sacrilege to say, but I normally don't take Finger of Death because I prefer having more spells with more frequency than per refresh abilities, even if it's an insta kill. But with Warlock, you get double. So I had like 8 Fingers of Death, and I would just use it on the first target I could on the enemy team. And once I take out that first target, everyone else I'm going to take out with something cheaper. Okay, I'm going to hit you with a wounding. I'm going to hit your weapon because we already outnumber you. And once you have the numbers advantage, you're just going for trades at that point.
Right.
By the way, my name is inspired by chess. I just want to make that clear. I do like playing chess. And in the same way where you're playing chess, the moment you have that numbers advantage, you start going for the trades. Even if I'm one pawn up, as long as I can keep making trades and you don't win an engagement, then I'm going to win the game almost majority of the time.
Okay. Some more Paragon-y type questions for you. What is something that a Wizard player can do or be that in your head makes you go that guy's a Paragon?
I would say when it comes to what a paragon is, for me it's battlefield presence. I'm not big into the focus of do you role play your class well because I I wear a jersey to field. I'm not really like the person who's always getting garbed up. I only really get garbed up at like kingdom events. I see if you are having an impact on your field, like you're someone that people want on their team because you're having that much of a presence, that's a paragon. Now, to kind of drill down into that a little bit further, how do you establish that presence? So for me, I always try to take a leadership role. I always, hey, has anyone given us a strategy? We haven't? Okay, then I'm going to do that. Okay, here's what we should do, right? I'm going to work with you. You're going to be my buddy on the field. I need everyone else to find a buddy, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I always try to take a leadership role whenever I'm on the field because, you know, even a bad plan is better than no plan. And it's a team game. This game is more fun if you try to play with other people, and if you only base your gameplay on what you can do to make you better, you're just not playing the game right. Full stop. So someone who's willing to work with the people around them, I think, is uh, something that again really contributes to what a paragon should be. Hey, you're a barbarian. Do you want me to give you an enchantment? I will drop an archetype if it means I can give you void touch. Hey, um I see you're running pole. Do you want me to be a shove wizard so I can stick with you and I can, help you push and take space? Like, the way that you work with team dynamic, I think is a really good way to push for, not just making yourself shine, but you also want to make the people around you shine and do better because, you know, this is a community game, right? It's so important to like, you know, build up the people around you. I can't emphasize this enough. Like it's not enough to be the best fighter on your field. It's not enough to know your incants better than everyone else on your field. It's not enough to get into the most rules arguments on the field. I don't play Magic, but a lot of Magic players will usually get into that whole like, oh, but the way this spell effect works, like, oh, but let's discuss it on the field. Like, no, dude, discuss it after the game. Like, if someone's wrong, let them be wrong off the field. Let's just keep the flow of the game going. Just work with your team, support your team, make other people look good. I think that is something that can define a Paragon. If you can teach other people how to play and teach people who aren't even playing your class and you can bring them up, like I think that's what a Paragon should be.
Okay. What advice would you give someone that's starting out as a level 1 wizard?
Be sadistic. Yeah, so let me kind of give a story. When I first started playing Wizard, I was watching this YouTube channel, LARP Academia, and this is how I was first introduced to the Wizard spells. This is how I first started learning about how, a more experienced Wizard player plays Wizard. Is I watched Wizzo's videos, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, I love how he talks about this and that. So my first day of playing Wizard, I didn't want to learn incants because I'm like, I'm not going to remember this. I start playing with Force Bolt. I hit level 2. I have Entangle. I have Force Bolt. And I have Heat Weapon. Those are the only incants I know how to cast. So I see one of our more experienced druids on the field, Theoden. Theoden is approaching me, and I'm just like, Entangle! He stopped. Great. Theoden, I call upon Flame to heat that sword. He has dropped his weapon. Force Bolt, I don't even hit him. I walk up to him, and I break his sword that's on the floor with my Force Bolt. He is stopped. He has a broken weapon. He is basically out of fight, and like even in this like panic moment of me only playing Wizard for like maybe like 5th or 6th time, I'm like, where's my dagger? He's like, dude, stop. I'm dead. You got it. You won. I can't do anything. You have won the fight. I'm like, cool. And that's kind of how I modeled the rest of my Wizard play. Is, you stop someone, okay, great. Now leg them, even if they get the release off. Okay, great. You still need to get healed. That's two spells someone has to waste on you, and that's twice the amount of time that you're getting a healer to spend on top of that, a sitting duck.
Right.
Yeah, so be sadistic. Find different ways to make it hard for other people to have fun. The more fun you're having, the less fun they're having. And you should aspire to do that every time you play Wizard.
Oh, okay. Rook, I know that we both
Callahan.
love Wizard a lot.
Uh-huh.
What kind of person should be picking up Wizard?
I think someone who wants to get a better understanding of the ins and outs of this game. And by that I mean, Wizard has access to every class of magic. So there is, again, and this is why I keep phrasing it this way, is like there's an answer to every problem. And every other player on the field will present a problem for you that you have to answer. The better you get at understanding uh, your spell list, and the better you get at understanding the spells available to you, the easier and quicker it gets to answer those problems. You know, if you know an enemy team has a druid, there's a very high likelihood that that druid is either going to put enchantments on himself or enchantments on his allies. Well, you better be bringing Dispel. You have that answer. That's a very common answer that any class, well, any caster class except for like Bard has access to. And great, now when you go play a different caster, even if you're playing a healer, you know, well, I can't just be a res bot. There's all this value I get from Dispel or Sever Spirit. So now that's something that you're going to take with you when you pick this other class. So I would say anyone who's interested in understanding how magic works and how it affects the field, try it. I don't think there's a right person to play wizard. Get your cardio in. You're gonna do a lot of cardio as wizard for sure.
Okay. All right, last three questions, and then I will let you go. Rook, what is your next Amtgard goal? What are you working on right now?
Right now, I'm trying to get my 7th Order of the Warrior, so I'm just focused on fighting right now. So I haven't really played wizard as much as I did, the past few years that I've been playing, but I really want to up my game. I'm really excited for next Spring War, Vice City Dojo. We really want to have a good presence in jugging. And, for those of you who are going to Spring War, like, please try jugging. It's so fun. I'm addicted. And the other thing that I'm focused on, less in-game but more Amtgard, is we have SuperCon coming up. That's going to be here in the Miami Beach Convention Center. This is a big moment for Shifting Tides, where I think it's already our 4th year of coming to SuperCon. This is a moment where, all of our players, we, old and new, we come together and we try to make a very special experience for the people who come to this convention. I've been coming to SuperCon since I was in high school. I'm 28 now. And, now to be someone who actually provides the entertainment at this convention, it is so fun. You guys haven't lived until you've seen like brand new flurbs trying to hold their swords upside down. And, we're talking over 1,000 people over the course of a weekend, from Friday 10 a.m. to midnight, Saturday 10 a.m. to midnight, and Sunday. It is so fun. And it's also a really special experience for, all of our park members to get together and work at something that, man, you pissed me off last Sunday, but next week is SuperCon and we're going to kick ass together. It's going to be great. I'm very excited for this.
Awesome. Wish I could make it down there.
Yeah, if you can, it's going to be July 18th to the 21st. If you can't this year, try to put it on your calendar for a future year, because this is definitely something to keep your eyes on.
Rook, is it okay for people to come up and talk Wizard Shop with you at Park and at Kingdom events?
I invite it. You should absolutely harass me, bother me, get me to the point where I don't want to talk about Wizard anymore, because I really want to talk about Wizard right now. And this game is awesome, and the only time we really get to talk about it is at Kingdom events and on Sundays. So please let me talk your ear off about this. It's such a great class.
Wizard is the best class.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, it's the best class.
It just is. It's the bestest, most funnest, most excellentest class in the game.
So after my most recent run of a Warlock, I realized how easy it is to cast Ravage on people. So what I'm going to be doing soon is I'm going to run Wizard with a longsword, Warlock, and gosh, what's the other one? Battle Mage. I'm just going to cast Ravage on people, and I'm just going to take legs, and I'm just going to be ambulant, and I will finally be able to pull off the Jedi build that I have been wanting to do since I first started playing Amtgard. Obi-Wan's coming out.
You will never know the joy that Old Ravage was. Old Ravage was amazing.
Well, tell me. I mean, right now it's just, you're fragile and it's death shall make thee fragile. But what did it
used to be the exact same effect. Just target player becomes fragile, but it used to be Rook, death shall ravage thy flesh and make thee fragile. Death shall ravage thy flesh and make thee fragile. Death shall ravage thy flesh and make thee fragile. Now it's just, Rook, death makes thee fragile. And you're like,
Okay, but it's so much quicker to say. I mean,
It's not about the speed,
that was
Rook. It's about
it's
the message.
absolutely about the speed. No. I'm gonna have it out with you right now. This is my hot take. I don't care about verbals, ranged verbals, being lengthy and flurby. If you want to make enchantments lengthy and flurby, we can take lycanthropy and get the old incant back. I know it changed because of copyright reasons, but you know, if we're in the heat of a fight, things are fast paced, things are going quick, right? I don't have the time to explain what I just cast to you. You just need to know what school you're casting at me. Death. Okay, what did you just cast at me? I'm fragile. Okay, great. I'm gonna move on. I got exactly what I need. And also the incant's faster. That means now I want to use Ravage. It has less syllables. You gotta count your syllables when you're doing these verbals. It really makes a difference. I mean, that's why I never took Ravage. It was just too lengthy.
And for me, Ravage always was. And if you want to get my like long form take on this, go check out
I do.
the Wizard kill combos video on my YouTube channel. I get really into depth with all the different kill combos and optimizing them as much as possible. But Ravage is a spell that objectively isn't good, and it isn't good on multiple levels, and we can get into it. But the high level reasons Ravage isn't good: first off, fragile is not a good state. It can be released by most, and anyone that has a release can just release themselves out of fragile. Anyone who doesn't have release probably has access to armor, making it so that fragile is less good. So fragile is undoubtedly the worst state to put someone in from a making them dead effectiveness, right? Look at Frozen. Frozen, they can't move, they can't interact, they can't cast spells, so they can't get out of it themselves. Fragile, they still can move, they can get out of it themselves, and the effect doesn't really prevent them from continuing to play the game. So, Fragile is the weakest state to put a player in. Then you add on top of it that it had a clunky incantation. This is something you had to practice. It's not quite as bad as that one bard spell, but death shall ravage thy flesh and make thee fragile is a mouthful. You have to practice that. If you're casting Ravage, you made a commitment and you're sending a message. And then lastly, they gave you 2 per life. Anytime the rulebook gives you 2 of something per life, it's either because it's bad or it's important. You never see anybody taking destroy armor because it's unplayable garbage. And they knew that, and so they gave you 2 of them at per refresh. So if you get a per life 2x, it's either like on the healer list, they get, I believe it's release twice per life. If you're getting Ravage twice per life, that is a third signal that this is not a great spell. And so if you ravage someone and then wound them, it sent a message of, I consider myself so good at this game and so good at wizarding that I'm going to use the worst possible state and the hardest kill combo to pull off, and that's how I'm going to kill you. And so that's why I liked Old Ravage. It was that, it was sort of like you were flexing on a field, and you were proving your mightiness, and no one can complain about Ravage wounding, because people will be like, oh, all you ever do is Icy Blast Shatter. Oh, you're only good because those spells are overpowered. Well, what if I take the worst spells, the worst kill combo, and I make that work? You can't say it's a skill issue at that point. So that's why I like the Old Ravage.
So I want to take what you're saying, and I want you to reconsider the way you're thinking of Ravage. If you're not taking Warlock, you should not be taking Ravage. Warlock gives you double your usage. That 2 use per life turns into a 4 use per life, which is really affordable for, what are we at again? It was 4th level?
Well, and to be clear, New Ravage is better than Old Ravage, and I do still use it. So it's still a fun spell. It's just not nearly as fun anymore, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be harder. It'd be like if they made Dark Souls a little bit easier.
Well, then what's the point?
That exactly. That's it right there.
Yeah.
Like, if they came out with a new thing and they're like, "Hey guys, we put a difficulty slider in Dark Souls. Now you can crank it all the way down here. The boss only has 7 HP, and if you roll, that makes the boss fall down." Like, oh, okay. It's not an accomplishment anymore. So by making it easier, for me at least, they took out a little bit of the fun. And I'm glad that you're having fun with Ravage now, because it is picking up some love now in the wizarding community.
Oh
But
yeah.
at the danger of sounding like a hipster, I liked Ravage before it was cool.
Oh my god. I do want to, and then, last point to touch on with Ravage, I do agree that putting Fragile on someone else is a lot harder than just putting Wounds Kill on one of your guys. Contagion on a warrior or Contagion on an anti-paladin with a pole is probably going to be a lot better than, I mean, even if you need Contagion on an anti-P, but, point is, like, having that on someone with the pole is going to be more effective than trying to Ravage them before your pole gets to them.
The big flex is put persistent contagion on your pole and still Ravage people. That's the new flex.
That's great. Oh my god, people just start melting when you look at them. Oh, Fragile, Wounds Kill.
You got Wounds killed twice. How do you feel about that? You're equally the same amount of dead, but we multiplied it. Okay. We gotta wrap this up before we get too unhinged here. Rook, do you have any final advice for all the wizards before we let you go?
Do your cardio. It doesn't matter what version of wizard you're playing. If you're playing verbal, you need your cardio up so that you can, run away from barbarians while they are charging you. And if you're playing elemental barrage or evoker, right? Don't harass me about it. But if you're playing elemental barrage wizard, you still got to run around. You're still going to be chased by the same barbarian. I mean, they really don't discriminate. They will kill you. Just don't ask them to count to 8.
All right. Well, a super special thank you to Rook for coming on to talk to us about Wizard tonight. Rook, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
It's been fantastic. Nice to meet a fellow IT wizard and a wizard.
To you, our viewers out there, if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more battle gaming excellence. If you have any questions for myself or Rook, please leave them down in the comments. We'll be monitoring them for a bit, and we like to circle back and clarify things if we need to. And we will see you in the next video.
Cheers, you guys. Have a great night.